Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Feedback on CKLQ. Just before today's program, we were kind of left hanging a little bit on tomorrow's show. We knew we were going to have a member of the provincial cabinet on our program, but we weren't able to confirm who that was going to be until very recently. And Agriculture Minister Roseanne Wochuk will be our guest tomorrow on this program, just to give you the heads up on that. Today, a book called The A-List. We'll be back to introduce our topic, our guest, and a very interesting story to you after the break. Back in a moment. Good morning once again. My guest this morning on the show is Roslyn Franken. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks for being on our program today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Well, we know your name. Let's hear a little bit about yourself, just so our listeners can get a hang on things.
Well, I have a book, as you mentioned, called The A-List, 9 Guiding Principles for Healthy Eating and Positive Living, which I wrote as a result of my own journey with struggling with food and weight issues, but also having overcome cancer when I was 29 years old. So my approach is all about, this is health-driven. It's not just about wanting to look better on the outside, but it's really how do you make changes from within.
And if we go back even further in your family history, your family has overcome adversity well before you dealt with it.
Oh, yes. My mom is a survivor of the concentration camps in Nazi Germany, and my dad survived the prisoner of war camps in Japan. So I come from a long list of survivors, shall we say.
I was just going to say, no surprise that their daughter is a survivor as well.
Yeah, I don't know. It must be like a gene or something.
Is that what you want people to know you as a survivor? Does it go a lot further than that?
It goes a lot further than that. It's survivor, but it's what I've taken from those experiences. A lot of people go through adversity in their life or trying to overcome challenges, but end up being defeated in the end, or give up. And what I'm trying to promote is an idea that whatever adversity you have or whatever challenges you're trying to overcome or how to improve yourself, it's about positive living and personal growth.
When I was thinking about this, I was thinking about the word survivor and whether or not it applied to you. And I was thinking sometimes some people will put a connotation of luck on surviving. And in your case, I don't think it's luck at all. I think you worked hard at it, and I think it's all about how you approached it. Would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, having gone through this, one of the things I learned is that we all have the power of choice, right? We can choose every thought that we have, every belief we hold, and every action that we take. And using my mother as a role model, here's a lady who, in her teenage years, was in the Nazi concentration camps, as I mentioned, and then in 1983 finds out she's diagnosed with cancer and basically was given 2 years to live with what she had. And she went on till 2004. She passed away in 2004 at the age of 77.
Right.
But when she was diagnosed, she spoke to her doctor and pointed to the tattoo number on her arm from the camps and said, "Hitler didn't get me. My cancer won't get me."
Yeah.
She just made that choice. She said, "I'm going to fight this." And 21 years later, it's pretty amazing. I think a lot has to do with mental attitude.
Tell us your story. I think people would be interested in hearing it.
In the cancer per se?
Well, yeah, from that and the weight perspective. I mean, just set it up for us so that we know where you started from.
Sure. Well, with the cancer, I mean, imagine 29 years old. I went to sleep one night and woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning with my neck so swollen and painful I could not lift my head up off the pillow. That's a pretty scary moment. And at first they thought maybe I had a virus or I had mono, because typically you get swollen glands in your neck, but this swelling in my neck was not going down. And then, as it turned out, they sent me for an ultrasound and then later a biopsy and found out I had Hodgkin's lymphoma based in my neck. So it was quite shocking, right? So 9 months of chemotherapy kind of makes you look at life a little bit differently. I mean, for one thing, I will never complain about a bad hair day again. Because when you've had no hair, any day with hair is a good day.
Yeah.
And but you would think that that kind of a health scare would be enough to kick me into action to, really do an overhaul of my eating and lifestyle habits. But it still took, believe it or not, another 10 years, because over the time of getting over the cancer till the time where my weight was at its absolute heaviest was 10 years later. And it was that same year that my mother passed away, and I realized that I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. I didn't feel good in my body. I was putting on weight, and my pants were getting tighter, and that overall feeling of just knowing that I could do better. And I just came to the conclusion at that point that I've already been sick myself. I had cancer. My mother just passed away from cancer. My dad had quintuple bypass surgery years ago, and I thought, what else has to happen to me to force me to do something, to make a change? And I thought, what am I waiting for? Am I waiting for another health scare? Why wait? Why not do something now? And that was a big impetus for me to start making some serious changes.
I think Oprah would call it your defining moment, would she?
My defining moment. Yeah. I call it my turning point. That was really it. And also at the time, I was working primarily as a life coach. So here I was helping people understand themselves better, make better life choices, solve problems, set goals, achieve goals. And I thought, this doesn't feel right, because it's like the pot calling the kettle black. How can I be helping people achieve goals if I can't get my own goal in order?
Not good public relations for what you do.
No, I don't think so. So, and then I thought, if I take everything that I learned in my training, because I have a master's degree in applied human sciences in something called human systems intervention, which is a study of how people learn and change. And I combine that with a coaching certification so that I can coach people. But I thought, I need to be able to take all these theories and really apply them to my issue with food and weight, because if I can overcome this, if I can do this, then I can specifically help other people do it. And that's what led me into the whole focusing on the eating and lifestyle habits.
So some people would, in your situation, would just kind of bury themselves deeper in their problems. Was it anger to a degree in your case?
I think it's a combination of many things. Mm-hmm. Definitely emotional eating and how you manage stress in day-to-day life. I mean, we live in a very fast-paced world, and also where we all want the quick fix, right? We're all looking for the magic solution.
Right.
And for me, I think it was also after years of trying different diets and trying different weight loss methods that you see advertised all the time, and they would work, but then I'd go back to my old habits, and the weight would come back on again, if not more. And that's what a lot of people experience, right? So
you're like a lot of people. You've ridden the diet train from one end of the line to the other then.
Oh, definitely. I did that for long enough until I realized, okay, obviously this isn't working. Mm-hmm. How many times am I going to do this? Because each time you do it, and then if you gain the weight back, which typically happens, you feel like an even bigger failure at the end. You feel more discouraged. You feel more defeated. And a lot of people at that stage also feel that much more fearful to try something new. Like, oh, am I going to try this again? Or how do I know this is going to work? Or I've already spent so much money on this. Oh, maybe I just need to accept that this is how I am, and they give up.
Yeah. So did you analyze the heck out of why you were doing this, or did you just decide you were going to do something about it and not worry about the whys?
I did some focus on the whys. I looked at what are more my relationship with food. Mm-hmm. Now understand not just, okay, what I'm eating, but why am I eating what I'm eating, when I'm eating, who I'm eating it with, what time I'm eating it.
Okay.
Looking at what are my habits, what are my patterns, and obviously looking at, okay, well, what's not working?
Yeah.
And really taking the time to actually pay attention to it, because a lot of people don't pay attention. They just do things mindlessly because they're so busy just trying to get everything done in their day. So what I did was focus on being mindful and actually looking at what I was doing. That was a big first step. And also looking at why do I want to make this change and how important is it to me.
So it's not just what goes in your mouth then?
No. I look at it as more of a holistic approach, if you for lack of a better term. It's not just the food that you feed into your mouth. It's also the thoughts that you feed into your mind, the feelings that you feed into your soul. You always hear that heart, body, mind kind of combination.
Right.
And it is all of those things combined, because oftentimes people eat for reasons that have nothing to do with hunger.
Right.
Because you're hungry. It's because it's comforting. Like, let's face it, food tastes good.
Yeah.
That's what I say to my clients. I figured out the number one reason why it's so hard to reach and maintain a healthy weight. And I say it's because food tastes good. And that's not going to change.
No.
So the only other part of the equation is you.
That's right.
Right? So something has to change.
All right, we're going to take our break here and open up our phone lines. If there's some comments you'd like to make about your personal journey, your story, we'd certainly be interested in hearing from you. We're going to turn our attention to the book itself when we come back. We'll have some information for you that you're going to want to write down, so arm yourself with some paper and a pen. And as I said, if you'd like to benefit from my guest's experience, please join us on the phone lines. We will open our phone lines up and take calls when we come back from our next break here. 725-2525 is our local line. If you're calling us long distance, 1-888-2210-880. And I said you've heard our guest's story this morning, and if you'd like to share some of yours with us and maybe the benefit of her experience along with that, by all means join us on the program. We'll be back in just a moment. We're back. My guest is Roslyn Franken, and the book is called The A-List, 9 Guiding Principles for Healthy Eating and Positive Living. Okay, how is this different from a lot of other books that we'll see on the shelves out there, Roslyn?
Well, for one big thing, it's not a diet book.
Okay.
It's not a book that's focused on a step-by-step menu plan or strict, rigid way of eating.
Okay.
It's really, a bigger focus of the book is more on the psychological side of eating and lifestyle. So really understanding habits, how to make change, how to make change that's going to last for the rest of your life. So getting people to understand that this is a gradual, long-term approach as opposed to a quick fix.
Now, and your background, your educational background would tell me that this is put in a format that just doesn't work for you personally. I mean, it is your story, but it's designed to work for everybody, right?
Oh, definitely. And the 9 principles that are laid out, each one builds on the one before it, so it's a building process. So it's also working through the issues and understanding what are the barriers that you have that are holding you back from having the long-term success. And a lot of the sections in the book are in a workbook style.
Okay.
So it's getting you to ask yourself the questions that you need to answer to put a good foundation in place of understanding of yourself so that you can make lasting changes.
Okay. Would you agree then it is crucial to sort of find out the whys before you do anything else so that it is a meaningful exercise and a lasting one for people who are maybe trying to lose some weight, for example?
Definitely, because the feedback that I'm getting from people who read it tell me that, especially the first few sections, they're going, oh my God, I'm reading this and like it's like you're inside my head. How do you know these things? And I'm reading this and going, now I'm understanding myself. I'm understanding why I've been self-sabotaging myself, why I haven't allowed myself to really lose the weight and keep it off. It's about addressing some of the underlying issues. It's not just about going from eating one way one day to completely making drastic changes the next. It's about learning how to do it gradually, sensibly, safely.
And I guess the key word I think you used earlier too was patience. Like your goal has to be long term, and you have to be you're not going to. There's no miracles, I guess.
there's no miracles, and unfortunately, too many people wait till they're told, let's say by their doctor, that if they don't smarten up, they're going to have diabetes or heart disease, or they have high cholesterol or high blood pressure, that there's some health issue, and then people all of a sudden there's more of a sense of urgency to do something about it. But what I'm trying to promote to people is, why wait till you have the health issue? Why not at least minimize your risks? You know, like in my case, I had cancer. I know that because of what I had, I have a higher chance of getting some other form of cancer. But you know what? I can't, say 100% whether or not it's ever going to come back. But at least I can minimize the risk by taking care of myself and living, a happy, healthy life.
I should tell our listeners your book is available at Chapters and Indigo if they have access to those outlets.
Yeah, you have to ask for it specifically, and they can order it for you if they don't have copies in the store. And
your website is thealistbook.com, correct?
Yep.
And you have is it a toll-free number?
It's a toll-free number.
1-877-852-5852. 1-877-852-5852. Can we talk about some of the principles in your book?
Sure.
You start.
Okay, well, the first one, obviously starting with the letter A, is ambition. Mm-hmm. Ambition is where it all starts. And ambition has to do with really digging deep to say, what is your desire to change your eating and lifestyle habits? Because a lot of people talk about wanting to change, but then the next part is, how willing are you to do something about it?
Yeah.
And how ready are you, and how committed are you? Because in relation to change, making changes, most people are naturally resistant to change because it's easier to stay with the status quo and live within your comfort zone. But the way that I take people through this process is to understand what has to happen in order to overcome any kind of fears, and understanding that it's normal to have, it's scary because it's the unknown, fear of, you don't want to fail, you don't want to make a mistake, but, you have to deal with these fears and let them go and turn those fears into determination. Because I truly believe that even the most successful people, we all have moments of fear or self-doubt and insecurities, but it's not being controlled by it. It's still saying, okay, I feel these things, but I'm still able to push forward. So it's to find that within you to be able to go to that next level.
All right.
Let it stop you.
Hold that thought. We'll take a call here. Hi, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Bill.
Can we get you to turn your radio down in the background, please?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. Go ahead.
I enjoyed what I've heard Gal talking about that weight problem and the ways of dealing with it. The holistic approach caught my attention. Years ago, or for a lot of years, I've heard saying that we are what we eat. Mm-hmm. I stretched that out a bit to we are what we eat and breathe and drink and think and exercise.
Yeah, true enough.
Not necessarily in that order, and the most important one of those to each individual would be the one that they were particularly short of. Talking about weight loss, my front porch was getting a little bit of a problem a few years ago, so I decided to follow up the meaning of Lent.
Oh, yes.
And for 40 days I worked on that problem, and I would never have made it on my own, but with that purpose behind it, it kept me going. And,
well, it's whatever motivates a person, right?
Yeah. And my daughter sent me out a book from Winnipeg last Christmas. It's called The Maker's Diet by Jordan Rubin.
Right.
He went away to university, and his weight went down to 117 pounds, and the doctors called his parents in because they didn't think he was going to make it through the night. They changed his diet, and within 40 days, he was up to 170 pounds.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
So that's the other end of the...
Yeah,
that's
they
the other
were
end
going to take out his intestines and stuff and replace it with a pouch, and they changed his diet, and there's something in there he calls black earth that's supplied microorganisms to his digestive system that turned it around that he wasn't getting on the institutional food at the university floor in Florida.
Well, diet's important. There's no doubt about that.
All five of those things are, I think. Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your call.
Yeah, I'd like to get hold of this book and read it too.
All righty. Well, we'll certainly have the information on that for you.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks for the call.
Yep. Bye.
When he talks about the the holistic, you talked about the holistic approach, and he agreed with you. You really do have to get your mind in shape first, though. You're saying
it's all interconnected.
Yeah.
Working on all of them at the same time. It's like if your thinking is not in the right direction, then it's much harder to make good food choices. If you're thinking negatively, if you have a lot of anxiety and stress in your life and you're not sleeping well, then it stands to reason that your days you're going to be probably drinking more coffee just to stay awake. You might have digestive problems because of what's going on mentally, so then you might be taking antacids and medications for things like that. With the lifestyle that a lot of people are living today, with all the pressures of daily life, a lot of people are getting stuck in physical problems and mental problems, like more and more people being on depression medication and dealing with anxiety and sleep disorders. These have a total ripple effect because what happens typical, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the sugar cravings start, right? And reaching for things like chocolate bars or things for comfort. So if you're not sleeping well, if you're not feeling well, then it's harder to keep your eating in check and to find the motivation and energy to exercise. But you have to start somewhere.
Now, I know one of the other principles in the book is attainability, and that's one of the things that I think, I've even gone through that, is it's sort of what's the use? I'm beyond the point of no return. Why worry? Why care about it? What's going to happen happens. But I guess, you say in your book that people have to believe that they can change and they can meet their goals and deadlines.
Exactly. And one of the things when I talk about attainability, for me, the pressure of having really harsh goals and deadlines was actually for me self-defeating, because what would happen is every New Year's Eve I would make this resolution that by my birthday on May 13th I will have lost X amount of pounds, and every year it seemed like by the time New Year's came there was more weight to lose to get there. So when I didn't meet the goal, I would feel like I failed. And then, of course, I felt down on myself. So what would I do to feel better? Well, you turn to food for comfort. Like it's completely illogical. It doesn't make sense, but that's what you do when you're somebody, especially who's more of an emotional eater. So in terms of attainability, I thought, well, why put this pressure on myself of this big goal by such and such a date? Why not just break it down into smaller goals and be happy with every little accomplishment that I have, rather than always focus on what I didn't achieve? Start looking at what I did achieve and not put the pressure of the deadline. Just focus on the process and not the outcome, because as soon as I did that, the results came so much more easily.
And so it's not always beneficial to set the goal, or maybe to set the bar too high. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Like, be happy. Like, I remember my doctor telling me that if you lose 5 to 10% of your body weight, you will already start to see health benefits.
Yeah.
And for every pound of weight that you lose, you're taking off 5 pounds of pressure off of your joints. So people who have joint problems, just starting to lose weight can take pressure off their joints. Again, this is not just about looking good on the outside, but it's how you feel on the inside, and being able to move more freely and enjoy activity, and being able to go up a flight of stairs and realize, hey, I'm not as out of breath as I used to be. So just focus on the 5 or 10% to start, and then when you get there, you go for the next goal, and that way you also have a sense of achievement because you reach a goal, as opposed to if you have 60 or 70 pounds to lose, and all you're thinking is, oh, once I lose that 60 or 70, that's like that could take you a while. So it's a longer haul. Whereas if you break it up, it's just more satisfying that way, because every small success breeds more success and breeds more motivation to reach for the next goal.
And I know that you're right when you say that it doesn't take long before you start noticing some improvement.
Completely. And
now,
again, not just people who have food and weight issues are so obsessed with the scale.
Yeah.
And I try to explain to them that the benefits of changing habits in a healthier direction it's so much more meaningful than just about the number on the scale.
You're right. How do you draw people into your philosophy in the book? How do you keep people motivated in the book?
How do I keep them motivated in the book?
Yeah. You mentioned earlier it was a progressive sort of thing. Is that how you do it, or?
Yes, very much so. It's a progressive, and also it's the self-discovery process that keeps people motivated, because when they start learning about themselves and start understanding what makes them tick and what is creating the barriers for them, they start to realize, well, hey, if I start dismantling some of these things that I've been doing, I can see if I can have success. You see, so for example, one of the A principles is all about attitudes, and I identified 9 different attitudes, and the feedback that I get from that section alone is unbelievable, because people read it and go, oh my God, and this doesn't just apply to my eating habits, this applies to everything I do in my life.
Right.
So people who are perfectionists, have a lot of trouble, because they're so focused on, okay, now I'm trying this new diet, so I'm going to be perfect, and I'm let's say they decide I'm cutting out sugar from my diet, or I'm not going to have any potatoes anymore, because they believe that carbs are evil or something like that, or they read an article somewhere and they go full steam ahead. But then if the next day they end up succumbing and having a chocolate chip cookie at 10 o'clock in the morning, then the first thought that goes through their head is like, oh, can't believe I had that cookie. My whole day's shot now. Oh, well, I'll start again tomorrow,
Yeah.
All they can focus on is that cookie. And actually, with chocolate chip cookies, the person who's a perfectionist or who has an all-or-nothing attitude, I had a client who I do counseling with, and she called me up one day, and she was beating herself up for having 4 chocolate chip cookies. She said, how could I have had 4 chocolate chip cookies? Here I am working with you, and this doesn't make sense. Why did I do it? And she was beating herself up over it. And I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, how many would you normally have had? And she said, oh, at least 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Right? So I said, yeah, but I said, you only had 4.
Yep.
That's a step in the right direction. You did not have the 8 or 9 that you normally would. And it took her a while to understand that she did something better than she normally would, that it wasn't all bad. You see, so that kind of an attitude gets people stuck, because they just over-maximize the negative, and they can't recognize the accomplishments that they have.
All right, we're going to take another break here. Our phone lines are open. Question, comment, anything's fair this morning with my guest, Roslyn Franken. The book is called The A-List. And again, the toll-free number is 1-877-852-5852, or her website, thealistbook.com, and also available in bookstores when you ask for it by title. And in the meantime, our lines are open. If you're on there now, stay there. We'll come back and answer your call right after this. We're back. We had a call on there during the break, and they dropped off. Call us back. We'd like to get you on the program with us today. Hi, you're on the air.
Hi. I was just wondering if your guest had any suggestions for overcoming the menopausal symptoms, specifically night sweats that wake you up and keep you awake half the night. I'll hang up. Thanks. Bye.
I don't know if we can help them or not.
Well, I do address issues pertaining specifically to menopause. Some of them are the foods that you eat. Another big part, and this is a tough one for some people, is activity. Physical activity in and of itself is more than just about building muscle, which is important, but it's also important for helping with mood. It's also, like, lifting your mood. It's also helpful with menopausal symptoms. Women who do exercise more do suffer less in general from menopausal symptoms, such as the night sweats. There's different food habits, right? If you're not eating a healthy, well-balanced diet, you could be missing out on a lot of important vitamins and minerals. A lot of menopausal women sometimes are lacking in things like magnesium and vitamin D. I'm not an expert on that subject, but I've seen that often enough to know that those are some deficiencies that can have an impact on it.
So the diet for sure would be one area that people could, have an impact on themselves by.
Oh, definitely, because most people don't eat enough fruits and vegetables. They're not getting enough nutrition-filled foods.
Okay.
And that can be an issue in itself. You have to make sure that you have a well-balanced, well-rounded diet, not cutting out food groups. Some people tend to do that, but high fiber. So, like the main healthy things, they're trying to eat more of the high fiber, less sugar. That's a big one. Less sugar, less alcohol. I think it's a really cruel force of nature that a lot of women in their menopause tend to crave alcohol more and might be having maybe that extra glass of wine here and there. But yet, at the same time, that has an impact on their menopausal symptoms. So it's kind of like, it's not really fair. Your body's asking for something more of that's actually not going to be really good for it in the end. So
this would be a good time to tell our listeners that your book and your website has some recipes contained, right?
Yes, some really good, healthy recipes, and the key is they're fast. The only recipes I have in my book are very, very quick to prepare. So when I hear people say, well, I don't have time to cook healthy meals, or I don't feel like cooking healthy meals, well, you can cook. I have one recipe. It's called fast couscous and beans recipe, and it's got almost every food group you can think of in it. And it's low in calories, it's very nutritious, it's high in fiber, high in protein. It's got everything in there, and you can make it in less than 15 minutes.
All right, I'm going to take a fast break here. We have a couple of calls on the line. We will answer those calls when we come back in just a short while, so please stay there. We're back in a moment. We're back, and as promised, we'll go to our phone lines. Hi there. Thanks for waiting for us.
Hello,
Hi.
Bill.
Yes, go ahead.
You're talking about cancer this morning. About 20 years ago, 20 years before that, I had back trouble for 20 years, and then 20 years ago, they told me I had bone cancer.
Really?
And so I had to get my own doctor. I had to get some X-rays taken and blood taken every 2 weeks, then into Brandon and get a bone scan. That went on for 6 months, every 2 weeks.
Right.
And I told those two doctors that I was going to quit them. They said I couldn't do it, so I did. And I went to another doctor and told him what's going on, and he says, I think you made a good move. So he did a scan of my gallbladder on my liver, and I had a blockage from the gland to the gallbladder.
Right.
And he said, we have to operate on you right away. And so they did. That's 20 years ago. I'm coming 82. I haven't had a pain more than 30 pounds. I had disc dissolved in my back. Now I can even lift 200 pounds.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
it was a blockage from the gland to the gallbladder.
It proves one thing, and that is, take charge of your own health and do something about it.
Well, you got to use judgments of yourself.
There you are. Thank you for your call.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. That's what we're talking about this morning, is it not, Roslyn? That's taking charge.
It's taking charge, and it's listening to your body. That's a huge part of it, because, like I was saying earlier, so many of us are completely disconnected from our body because we're so busy running around, just getting our work done, dealing with responsibilities and obligations and pressures of every day, that we don't always take the time to listen, or we choose to ignore. So, even when you go to the doctor, if you're not satisfied with what the doctor is telling you, or you want a second opinion, you go for it, because you know your body best.
And you talked about activity before our last break there, but I guess, I mean, people can come up with some pretty amazing excuses why they can't work more activity into their day.
Oh yes, I actually address as many as I was able to think of, and what I've heard, I address in the book. I challenge people on every single one because that's exactly what they are, right? They're excuses.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably know people who say things. Well, exercise. I don't know. Who has time? Like, I don't have time. I'm too tired. I'm too lazy, I've heard, or I can't afford to go to the gym, or I don't like sweating. You know, like, there's a million excuses you can think of.
And somebody had to tell me this one, and I still use it, and that is, instead of trying to find the parking spot closest to the door, try and find the one that's the farthest away.
That's it. But even that is a choice. That's a conscious choice to choose that you're going to park a little farther, and it's going to take you an extra couple minutes to get your errands done. So it's making the choice, well, what's more important? Really, are those few extra minutes going to make such a big difference, you know, that you can't afford to just at least get some fresh air? Because you've probably spent most of the day inside an office or inside your car. You know, it'll also give you a few minutes of breathing real air, which isn't a bad thing either.
Listen, thanks for a very interesting hour with us this morning, and bringing this subject in your book to our attention, and doing the show with us today. I think it was good timing. We're just seeing the last of our snow disappear here in this part of Canada, and all those things about making life changes and getting out and getting a little more exercise are going to be very doable in the next few months ahead. So again, thank you for bringing that to us today.
Well, thanks for the opportunity.
I'm going to leave our listeners with the information on your book and say goodbye. Again, thanks, Roslyn. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, same here.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
That's Roslyn Franken, and her book is called The A-List. You have to know the title. It's The A-List, not A A-List. It's The A-List. 9 Guiding Principles for Healthy Eating and Positive Living. And the website is thealistbook.com. The toll-free number, 1-877-852-5852. And again, I'll be leaving that information at the front desk, at our reception desk for you to access following the program today. And just another reminder before we go that Manitoba Agriculture Minister Roseanne Wochuk is our guest tomorrow on this program, and we will talk to you then. Bye for now.